Grief doesn't get heavier during the holidays. The world just gets louder. You know why grief feels so much worse this time of year? It's not because you're going backward. It's because everywhere you look, there's a mirror showing you what's missing. The music, the decorations, the traditions. They're all holding space for someone who isn't here or for a version of your life that doesn't exist anymore. And while everyone else is celebrating, your brain, your body, it's doing something different. It's remembering, it's processing, it's protecting you from the weight of absence in a season designed for presence. This isn't weakness. This is your body being honest about loss in a world that wants you to pretend everything is fine. You're not broken. The season is just asking more of you than it realizes. You don't have to match the energy around you. You just have to be where you are. Grief doesn't follow the calendar. And your grief doesn't care that it's December. Everyone around you is talking about new beginnings, fresh starts, holiday cheer, and you're just trying to get through Tuesday. Because here's what they don't tell you: grief has no respect for calendars, it doesn't wait for permission, it doesn't check the date before it shows up in a chest, in your chest, at 3 p.m. on random Wednesday. You might wake up fine on the anniversary and fall apart in a grocery store parking lot 3 days later. That's not you doing it wrong. That's grief doing what grief does, moving on its own timeline, not the world's. So if you're not in the spirit right now, that's okay. If you're not ready to celebrate, that's okay too. Your healing doesn't have to sync up with anyone's expectations. You get to move at the speed of your own heart. No one else's calendar matters. Why you can feel grief and joy at the same time. You can miss someone and still laugh at the table. Both can be true. One of the cruelest myths about grief is that it has to be all or nothing. That if you're still hurting, you can also feel joy. That if you smile, you must be over it. There's No, that's not the truth. Okay? But your body already knows that. And you are big enough to hold both. Like you can miss them and still enjoy the meal. You can feel the ache of their absence and still be grateful for the people who are here. You can grieve what was and still find meaning in what is. This isn't betrayal. This isn't moving on. This is being human, capable of holding the full spectrum of what it means to love, lose, and keep living. Your heart has room for all of it. So you don't have to choose between honoring your grief and experiencing joy. You're allowed both. The pressure to be okay during the holidays. You don't owe anyone a performance of healing that you haven't reached yet. Can we talk about the invisible pressure that shows up this time of year? The one that says you should be better by now, that you should be able to show up, to smile, participate, prove you're okay. But what if you're not okay? What if you're still tender? What if the idea of pretending feels like it might break you? Here's what I need you to hear. You are not required to perform wellness for any person's comfort. You are not obligated to fake joy so that they don't have to sit with your pain. Your grief is not an inconvenience. It's not something to hide or apologize for. And the people who love you well will make space for wherever you are. You are allowed to be exactly as okay or not okay as you actually are. No performance is required. When holiday traditions suddenly hurt, the tradition that once held you can sometimes be what breaks you open. There's a specific kind of pain that comes with traditions because they were supposed to be the anchor, the comfort, the thing that felt like home, right? And now they're just a reminder of who's missing, of what's changed, of the version of your life that doesn't exist anymore. So you're standing in the middle of something that used to feel sacred, and all you feel is loss. That's not you being ungrateful. That's not you ruining the moment. That is your heart telling the truth that some things hurt differently now. That what once brought joy now brings ache. And you get to honor that. You get to say, this doesn't work for me anymore. You get to let it go or reshape it or skip it entirely. Traditions are meant to serve you, not break you. And you're allowed to release what no longer fits. Why grief can resurface years later. Grief doesn't expire, it integrates. Someone told you it would be easier with time. Time heals all wounds. And maybe in some ways it has. But then December comes, or a song plays, or someone laughs just like they used to, and suddenly you're right back in the thick of it. And you think, I thought I was past this. But here's the truth. Grief doesn't go away. It changes shape. It settles into your bones. And every now and then it resurfaces. Not because you're regressing, but because love doesn't disappear just because someone leaves your life. You're not going backward. You're just being reminded that loss lives in layers. And some layers take longer to reach than others. Grief coming back doesn't mean you're broken. It means you loved deeply. And that doesn't just go away. You don't owe anyone a strong version of you. Strength isn't holding it together. It's knowing when to let yourself fall apart. And somewhere along the way, you learn that being strong means never breaking. That it means showing up with a smile, holding it together, being the one everyone can count on. But what if strength actually looks different? What if it's admitting, I'm not okay right now? What if it's letting someone see you cry? Mm-mm. What if it's choosing rest over performance? We don't owe anyone the version you don't. We don't owe anyone the version of us that we have to pretend isn't hurt. We don't have to be strong for the sake of other people's comfort. Real strength is letting yourself be held. It's saying no when you need to. It's choosing honesty over image. You are allowed to be tender, to be authentic. You're allowed to need support. And that's not weakness. That's wisdom. So what do you do when grief hits out of nowhere? Grief doesn't ask for permission, but you can still meet it with kindness. You're fine. You're functioning. You're moving through your day. And then it hits. Sudden, sharp, stealing your breath. and you think, not now, not here. But grief doesn't wait for convenient moments. It doesn't check your schedule. It shows up when it shows up. And here's what you do. You pause. You don't fight it. You don't shame yourself for feeling it. You place your hand on your chest. Take a slow breath and let yourself feel it for just a moment. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to make it go away. You just have to acknowledge it. I see you. I feel you. You're allowed to be here. Grief will move through you faster when you stop trying to push it away. So let it come and let it go. Your body knows how to come back. You just have to give it permission. When grief spikes and your chest gets tight and everything feels too big, here's what I want you to do. Press your feet into the ground and feel the floor beneath you. Feel the weight of your body being held. Then place one hand on your heart, one on your belly. Breathe in for 4. Hold for 4. Out for 6. Say out loud or in your mind, I am here. I am safe. This will pass. This isn't about making the grief go away. It's about bringing your nervous system back online so you can hold the grief without being consumed by it. You don't have to white knuckle your way through this. You just have to come back to your body. Regulation isn't control. It's coming home to yourself, even in the storm. Leaving isn't quitting. And sometimes it's the bravest thing you can do. You showed up, you tried, you gave it your best effort. And now every cell in your body is screaming, I need to go. So go. You don't need a dramatic reason or exit. You don't need to be in crisis. You don't need permission from anyone else. If staying is costing you more than it's giving you, you're allowed to leave. You're allowed to protect your peace. That's your responsibility. You are allowed to honor what your body is telling you. People might not understand. They might be disappointed. But you are not responsible for managing their feelings about your boundaries. You staying past your limit doesn't serve anyone, least of all you. So go if you need to go. Because boundaries are grief's quiet protector. Boundaries aren't walls. They're the space you need to heal without apologizing for it. When you're grieving, everyone has advice. Everyone has opinions. Everyone wants to know if you're okay, when you'll be okay, why you're not okay yet. And somewhere in all of that, you lose the space to just be. That's where boundaries come in. Not to shut people out, but to protect the tenderness you're carrying. I'm not ready to talk about it yet. I need some time alone. I appreciate your concern, but I'm handling this my own way. These aren't rejections. These are acts of self-preservation. And you don't owe anyone, an explanation for what you need. Boundaries let grief move at its own pace, without an audience, without pressure, just you and your healing. Sometimes the most productive thing you can do is absolutely nothing. You've been told to stay busy, keep moving, to not wallow in it. And so you're running on empty, proving to everyone, including yourself, that you're fine. But here's what no one tells you: rest is part of the healing, it's not avoidance. Not giving up, healing. Your body is doing the deep work right now. It's processing loss, it's integrating pain, calibrating what life looks like without what you've lost. That takes energy, more energy than anyone really realizes. So if you need to sleep more, say no more. Sit in silence more. That's not you being lazy. That's you honoring what grief requires. Rest isn't running from the pain, it's giving yourself the space to metabolize it. You are allowed to stop. You can hold the memory without living in the past. There's a difference between honoring what was and getting stuck there. And sometimes it's hard to know which one you're doing. Honoring looks like gratitude, like saying their name, like keeping the parts that still hold meaning. Getting stuck looks like refusing to let anything change, like making the past more sacred than the present, like punishing yourself for still being here. You don't dishonor them by continuing to live. You don't betray the memory by finding new joy. You don't have to freeze your life in the moment that you lost them to prove that they mattered. You can carry them forward without carrying the weight of staying exactly where you were. Both can be true. You're not the same person you were before, and that's not failure. Sometimes the grief isn't just about who you lost, it's about who you were before the loss. The version of you that was lighter, more hopeful, less aware of how fragile everything is. And you miss them. You miss her. You miss him. You miss the person who didn't carry this weight. But here's what I need you to know: you didn't lose yourself. You changed. You deepened. You became someone who knows the cost of love and chooses it anyway. That's not less than who you were. That's more. It's just different. And different feels like loss until you learn to meet who you're becoming. You don't have to go back to who you were to be whole again. You just have to learn to love who you're becoming. Grief isn't a sign that something's wrong with you. It's proof that you loved well. If you're still grieving, if you're still feeling it, if you're still carrying the weight of what you lost, you're not broken. You're not damaged. You're not doing it wrong. You're not too sensitive or too emotional or stuck. You're human. And humans grieve the things that mattered. The people who shaped us, the futures we thought we'd have. Grief is the evidence of love. And love doesn't come with an expiration date just because someone or something is gone. So if you're still feeling it, that's okay. That's normal. That's your heart doing exactly what it's supposed to do. You're not broken. You're just still learning how to hold love and loss at the same time. And that takes time. You don't have to recreate what was. You're allowed to build something new. Maybe this year doesn't look like last year. Maybe the table is smaller. Maybe the traditions don't fit anymore. Maybe you're saying no to things you used to say yes to. And maybe that feels like failure. Maybe you're letting people down, or it feels like you're letting people down. It feels like you're not trying hard enough. But what if different isn't wrong? What if this season is asking you to build something new? Something that actually fits the life you're living now, not the one you had before. You don't have to force yourself into old patterns that no longer serve you. You're allowed to let this be your own thing. Different doesn't mean less. It just means honest. And honesty is the only foundation worth building on. Your grief doesn't need a defense. It just needs space to exist. People are going to ask. They're going to wonder why you're not better yet. Why you can't just move on. Why you're still affected by something that happened months or years ago. And you might feel the pressure to explain, to justify, to make them understand. But you don't owe anyone a dissertation on your pain. You don't have to educate people on why loss still matters. You don't have to defend the timeline of your healing. Your grief is yours. It doesn't need to make sense to anyone else. You don't have to explain yourself. You just have to honor yourself. And that's enough. You've been strong for everyone else. Now let someone be strong for you. You're the one everyone leans on, the one who holds it together, the one who makes sure everything and everyone else is okay. But who's holding you? Because here's the thing, you don't have to carry this alone. You don't have to be the strong one all the time. You don't have to prove that you can handle it. You are allowed to ask for help. You're allowed to say, I can't do this by myself. You're allowed to let someone sit with you in the mess without needing to fix it. Being held doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. And you deserve the same tenderness you've been giving to everyone and everything else. So, you've held so many people. Now it's your turn to be held. Let yourself receive that. You didn't just survive this year. You became someone who knows how. Before you step into the new year, I want you to do something with me. I want you to grab a piece of paper and I want you to write down every single win from this year. Not just the big ones, the small ones too. I'm talking about the day you got out of bed when it felt impossible. The boundary that you set. The moment that you chose yourself. The time you let yourself cry instead of pushing through it. The conversation you had. The thing you released. The breath you took when panic tried to take over. All of it. Every moment you showed up for yourself counts. Because here's what happens when you're just trying to survive. You forget how strong you actually were. You forget how the tiny victories that added up to you still being here. So write them down. Put them in a jar if you want. A win jar for the next year. So you can, we'll build one of those. So you can drop them in as they happen and read them next December. Because you need to see it. You need evidence of your own resilience. You need to know that even in the hardest year, you didn't just endure, you evolved. You made it through. That's not nothing. That is everything. Now, we can step into this new year knowing exactly how capable we truly are. I truly wish you all the absolute best in this new year. May all of your dreams and your goals come to fruition.